the store, we up. Yeah, touchdown sandals on the stone, I feel chosen. Sun high, smile wide-eyed, all the doors open. Cousins on the line like, bro, you glowing. Favor on my name, everybody knowing. A boy dreaming on a one-way flight. Now I'm walking through the city with my heart real light. Every step say grace, I ain't moving in spite. Every breath, every check, man, I'm good on sight. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. My people sing that truth again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Good food, big laughs, auntie in the kitchen. Kids in the courtyard, whole fam chillin'. Stories from the elders, wisdom when they listen. Love in the language, joy in the rhythm. Pocket on humble, but my soul on rich. Favor in my walk, every step that I pitch. From the corner to the koto, same old script. Keep the word in my heart, that's the real dream. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. My people sing that truth again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hands up, let the blessings fall. Hands up. Front row, back row, answer when he call. From the block to the wall, we the same through it all. God grace, God peace, stand tall, stand tall. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. One more time, my people sing that truth again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem.
Hey, peace and blessings, hey family. Actually doing a couple of things here. I'm trying to test out a new, some new audio equipment. Hang on one second. I have some audio feedback coming through my earbuds. Just want to confirm the previous microphone that I had an issue, but it looks like this one's a little bit clearer. So I guess on your end, family, if the audio sounds okay, if you could please put a 1 in the chat. Or if the audio sounds distorted, put a 2 in the chat. So if the audio sounds fine, put a 1 in the chat. But if the audio sounds distorted, please put a 2 in the chat. Just trying to clear up the audio issues that I've been having for the last 2 or 3 months. All right, so looks like I'm getting some 1. So awesome. All right, so this may be resolved. We'll see. All right. So I'm actually going to come back and listen to this on a couple of different audio devices just to make sure everything looks good. All right. Sounds great. All right. Thank you, family. All right. Well, hey, like I said, just wanted to hop on here and do a quick audio check. And since we're here, with the war happening over in the Middle East, it just seems to be going at breakneck speed as far as the development. So even since we've last talked, last night even looks like there was a major development. And as you could tell, the Persians have flexed last night. Well, actually, it may have been a couple of days. Maybe I'm just getting a hold of it now. But if you didn't know, of course, Israel, they're doing their thing. Their thing is they have this strategy of attacking the leadership, right? So they attack the leadership over in Hezbollah. They try to attack the leadership over in, Yemen, all these different places. They want to attack the leadership over in Venezuela. Like that's their MO. For whatever reason, they like to go and attack the leadership, grab these head dudes in all these different countries or whatnot. And this was their calculation, of course, when they went against the Persians/Medes. They thought that if they took out the leadership over in the Persians/Medes, that would fall apart, just like some of these other organizations, some of these other countries like in Venezuela. And then they thought that, they would be able to do what they wanted to do in Iran and eliminate the Persian threat. However, that's proven to not be the case. So in any case, what they did was they they executed the same plan. And recently they took out another Iranian, leader, some sort of official, right? But the problem is, and this is what they're finding out, is that the Persians / the Medes, they have the ability to counterstrike. They have the ability, I guess some folks are calling it asymmetrical warfare or asymmetric warfare, right? But in layman's terms, family, the Persian / Medes have the ability to counterstrike. In other words, whatever the Israel and U.S. forces are doing, it appears that the Iranian counterparts are able to do the same thing. So just going to play a quick clip for you here. And this is just to, again, show you that we are truly heading down, appears that we are heading down nonstop, full speed ahead down the prophecy train, like down this prophecy path that when it first started, like I told folks, I was like, I didn't even know that this war had started. I had that dream early in that morning, probably like around 4 a.m. And it seemed like it was just one of those different dreams, right? And within that dream, it felt as though, it was, mistake on my part was not writing it down immediately afterwards because I didn't think too much of it. I was like, oh, that was a weird dream. Just having a dream where it seemed as though like the curses were lifted off me, like where I was just kind of looking at my body and expecting to see bondages and the restraints. When I looked at my body, but all the bondages and the restraints were gone. And I remember saying out loud, the curses are gone. And then I woke up, right? And then when I woke up, then later on that day, my wife told me, was like, hey, well, did you know that the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran? I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. Then, of course, here we are today, roughly 20 something days, I believe we're 20 something days into this war, because it is a war that's happening. And sure enough, it appears that something is a little bit different about this war, and people are just shocked about, as far as the capabilities of Iran, right? So I'm going to set this one up, family, and then I'm going to play a quick clip for you because, like I said, I just wanted to hop on here real quick because I wanted to test out this microphone just to see if it was any good or if I had to take it back. So it looks like it might be okay, but I'm going to go back and take a look at or listen to the audio just to make sure everything's good. But the other thing I wanted to do as well, just to kind of bring you up to speed as far as what the other developments were. And it looks as though we are on the precipice of yet another escalation, because of course, your favorite president, it's not my favorite president, but your favorite president, Trump, said that, he gave an ultimatum to Iran. I believe the ultimatum started yesterday or last night or something like that, talking about he gave Iran 48 hours to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And if they didn't, then they were going to bomb or take out Iran's energy infrastructure. They're going to take out their power plants. And of course, Iran, being the G that they are, said that, well, if you do that to us, we're going to do that to all your friends and you and all your assets in the region. And we're going to, kind of like cars, you put that car down and then you raise it up. It's kind of like, I guess it's what, like poker. Say, I'll see yours and I'll raise you something. And what Iran says that I'll see your energy and I'll raise your salination depots in all your friends' places. In other words, like in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, and all these other places which are heavily reliant on desalination. In other words, that's how they get their water, right? They have these processing plants where they take out the salt water from the ocean, and then they convert it to drinking water. Well, if you take that away, then the people don't have nothing to drink. Like they depend on that, like for 99% of their drinking water comes from those plants. So the moment that those plants are taken out, then those nations will cease to exist in a matter of weeks. And for Iran, if they tried to do the same thing to Iran, actually, they tried to do the same thing to Iran. Iran only depends on it for about roughly 20% of their population, because Iran actually has rivers in their territory. So they're not totally reliant on, those desalination plants. So in other words, family, it's getting ready to hit whole nother scale. And then, of course, they're also threatening to hit the energy infrastructure. And what people are saying is that at that point, these high gas prices that you are seeing now, these high gas prices that you are complaining about now will, one, go up further. And will, two, what this gentleman is going to tell you is that, two, is going to be permanent. Well, permanent in the near future. In other words, regardless of whether or not, they come and say, peace, peace. All right, my bad, time out or whatever, phrase they come up with to come up with a pause or break. What they're saying is that everything will be so broken and torn up. There's no turning the spigot back on. It's like, after the fight has occurred and everything's been torn up, nobody's getting their food. Right. So in any case, family, like I said, this thing appears to be going, spiraling out of control from their perspective, of course, from the followers and the believers of Israel. When these wars and rumors of wars, come into being, come into manifestation, our Hamashiach or Messiah told us to, when you see these things, look up for your redemption. Your redemption draws near. So this is one of those things where we are getting close. Hallelujah. I truly believe that we are getting close to the moment, to the time of our redemption. I mean, just think about it. Our forefathers have lived for this moment. Our forefathers have dreamt of this moment where, they were getting whipped by those whips, and their skin, kind of looked like hamburgers, and they were getting burned by the stake, and they were being chased in the field by the dogs and all this other stuff. And you had to believe, family, that they had a longing, they had a believing that, man, if only, Most High Yah, if you would just take these shackles from us, if you would just, forgive us and take us back to our homeland. And yet here we are on the precipice of that, possibly, maybe, because again, no one knows the date of the hour. No one knows the time frame. I'm not one of those folks that will throw out dates and times out there. I don't believe in that. But it just seems like, hallelujah, based off of these, based off of the season that we're in. I'll put it to you that way, based off of the season that we're in. So let me just play this real quick, family, and I'll get out of here. Just make some comments and get out of here after that. But yeah, just wanted to show you that this thing is going up the escalation ladder, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
Senior Israeli Defense Forces officers are dead. These were not frontline soldiers. They were not young enlisted personnel absorbing the physical risks of a ground invasion. These were the architects of the battlefield. Senior commanders, the people who sit deep underground in fortified command centers, making the decisions that dictate where troops go, what gets targeted, and how this entire war is directed from the absolute highest levels of Israeli military planning. 7 of them were wiped out in a single strike by one missile that absolutely nobody could stop. A Fatah-2 hypersonic missile bypassed the most sophisticated, heavily funded air defense architecture on the planet, reached a heavily fortified IDF regional command center, and obliterated it. Israeli military officials are now using a word they have strictly avoided throughout this entire conflict. They are calling this devastating. Not a setback, not a temporary tactical disadvantage, devastating. This is the word military communications reserve for catastrophic events that fundamentally alter the operational reality of a war. 7 senior officers, 1 missile, 1 fortified bunker, and 10 interceptors that meant absolutely nothing. Stay with me, because the next few minutes are going to completely reframe everything you thought you knew about the trajectory of this war. I'm going to break down exactly what this weapon is, how it shattered a fortified command center that 10 simultaneous interceptor missiles could not protect, and what Israel's own defense industry has just publicly admitted about why this changes global warfare forever. The vice president of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, Israel's premier weapons developer, and the creator of the Iron Dome and Arrow systems, was forced to make a public statement so chilling it stopped military analysts around the world dead in their tracks. He compared trying to defend against the Fatah-2 hypersonic missile to trying to guard LeBron James with a single player. He admitted out loud that this missile opens a brand new era in air defense, an era where the underground bunkers that were supposed to guarantee the survival of military leadership are no longer safe. The era of the invincible command center died today, and the shockwaves of this single strike are right now rewriting military doctrines not just in the Middle East, but in Washington, Beijing, and Moscow. To understand why this is a turning point in the war, we have to look at the terrifying physics of what the Fatah-2 actually is. This is not just an upgraded version of the rockets Iran has been firing for the past few weeks. It is an entirely different category of weapon, representing a technological leap that defensive systems simply were not built to handle. The first-generation Fatah-1, revealed in 2023, was already a nightmare for defense systems. It flew at Mach 15, maneuvered in its terminal phase, and proved it could bypass Patriot and Arrow systems. But the Fatah-2 is the second generation, and the difference is not incremental. The Fatah-2 was specifically designed to defeat the exact defensive responses that the first few weeks of this current conflict revealed. When an object travels through the Earth's atmosphere at Mach 15, the intense friction generates a plasma sheath. This is essentially a bubble of superheated ionized gas that envelops the missile. Now here is the critical problem for defense systems. That plasma bubble acts as a blackout curtain for radio frequency signals. Any hypersonic weapon relying on GPS, radar seekers, or ground command uplinks goes completely blind inside that plasma sheath. But Iranian engineers solved this problem. They integrated a plasma cloud management system using a combination of inertial navigation and advanced optical terminal guidance. The Fatah 2 does not need radio signals to find its target. It knows exactly where it is using internal measurements, and as it screams toward the ground, its optical sensors physically look for the target. Because it doesn't rely on radio frequencies, all the electronic warfare, all the jamming, and all the radio disruption techniques used by the defense are rendered completely useless. The result is a Mach 15 weapon that actively maneuvers through the atmosphere, maintains perfect precision, and strikes with an accuracy that Israeli defense officials could only describe as unprecedented. It didn't just hit the military compound, it didn't just hit the building next door, it hit the exact hardened structure housing the specific command function where those 7 senior officers were sitting. Now, we must address the most alarming part of this event. 10 interceptor missiles were fired at this single Fatah 2, and all 10 failed. Understanding why they failed is the only way to realize that this was not a glitch or a human error. It was a brutal, unsolvable math problem. For an interceptor to destroy an incoming threat, it has to do 3 things: detect the threat, calculate an intercept path, and reach that exact point in space before the threat hits its target. A missile traveling at Mach 15 covers about 3 miles every single second. By the time a radar system gets a solid lock on the Fatah 2 at a distance of 200 kilometers, the defense system has less than 70 seconds before impact. The absolute fastest response time for an aero interceptor system, from radar lock to launch to reaching intercept altitude, is between 55 and 65 seconds. That leaves a margin of error measured in single digits. If there is any atmospheric interference, or if the target maneuvers and forces a recalculation, that margin instantly drops to 0. And the Fatah 2 is designed to maneuver. It does not fly in a predictable parabolic arc like a traditional ballistic missile. It makes violent, high-speed course corrections in its terminal phase. Every time the missile shifts, the defense system has to recalculate the intercept point. But calculating takes time, and by the time the computer...
Yeah, the volume's kind of doing some weird stuff on this one. I'm gonna try to make sure it stays up, but we'll see if it stays up or if it drops back down. But basically, what he's saying, fam, is, yeah, I know he's saying a whole lot, but the takeaway from this is that this is what happened. If you all remember Russia and Ukraine, and so in that whole war in Ukraine, things got taken up to another level when Russia took out this missile called the Oreshnik. The Oreshnik was a missile on a whole different level. This was one of those missiles that Vladimir Putin bragged about. He was like, y'all cannot shoot this missile down. And in addition, when this missile hits, there is no hiding from this missile. So over in Ukraine, I want to call the leaders and the generals and all those guys, they were down several levels in this bunker, in this hardened structure underneath the ground. Russia took that one Oreshnik, fired it up in the sky, and then they said that when that thing hit the that underground facility, that it obliterated it. And now they were saying that this underground facility went down several floors, below the ground, but it just took it out. It obliterated it. And so they were saying that when Europe saw Russia's capabilities with that weapon, that they were terrified. Enter in Iran. So Iran, they did a couple of things this past week. One is the U.S. and Israel thought that Iran's maximum reach was around 2,000 miles. But Iran then fired a missile over at Diego Garcia Air Base, which was about 4,000 miles away. Now, that one, not only were they surprised by the reach of it, right? The fact that they could reach it, and the fact that they had a missile that could, they had a missile in their inventory that they weren't aware that it had those capabilities. But then, in addition to that, they have this new rocket called the Fatah 2 to go along with it. Now, this Fatah 2, normally what you saw early in the campaign was that Iran was firing all these missiles and drones, and they were eating up or consuming all the, these interceptors and stuff like that. Well, Iran did something different this time. They took out their Fatah 2, and they didn't fire a whole lot of other stuff with it. They just fired the Fatah 2. And this came after Israel took out, somebody on the Iranian side. So they took out like one of Iran's generals, or one of their leaders, right? And so Israel was like, okay, bet. Now it's my turn to play. And so they took out their card deck. They fired this Fada 2. This Fada 2 goes up. And of course, and what he's saying is that they tried to intercept it. They sent 10 interceptor missiles. It wasn't just any 10 interceptor missiles that they sent. They actually sent 10 arrow missiles. Now, the arrow interceptor missiles are one of the most capable, most highly advanced interceptors that Israel has in their inventory. So in other words, if the arrow can't shoot it down, nobody can shoot it down. That's what it's saying. So he's kind of, like I said, he's saying a whole lot, but he's also kind of leaving some stuff out. But that arrow interceptor missile, he sent 10. And check this out, family, all 10 missed. Because of the evasion technology that's in it and the speed that's part, that's within the missile. It evaded all of it. And then it not only did it hit the Israel at the time, like I said, they had just knocked off this general. They were in their bunker. That was stories on the ground. This Fada 2 missile then hits, not only does it hit the bunker, but it penetrates so deep that it then destroyed and unalived all of those Israelite generals in that one meeting. And what he's saying was that they fired one missile, took out 5 generals. That's why Israel was shook when this happened. That's why they were like, whoa, they on a different level, because what they're saying is that this Fada 2 is equal or equivalent to the Oreshnik that Russia was firing over in Ukraine, that everybody in Europe was all scared about. Now what they're finding out is that Iran has the same missile, but they have their own version of it. This is why they're freaking out. This is why they're freaking out, and they're figuring out that they can't shoot it down, and they're figuring out that Iran can touch the Diego Garcia, which is their staging base. When you saw all of those, like those B-2 bombers and stuff like that, that they were going to use to bomb Iran, they were stationed at Diego Garcia. They were, those stealth bombers, right? They were stationed at Diego Garcia, and Iran just let them know, man, I was just playing. I was just playing, right? I could have taken y'all out all this time. And this is what they're realizing, is that all this time that Israel was doing what they were doing, taking out their Iran leadership, taking out this, taking out that, all this time, at any point in time since the beginning of this war, Iran could have taken out all of Israel's leadership. This is what they're finding out. This is the realization that's clicking in their brain. Like, man, they could have knocked us out at any point in time. Man, they've been holding back. And then Iran is like, and that's not even our best stuff. That's not even our best stuff. So again, I'm not sure. Let me just play just a little bit more of his breakdown of it. Like I said, I'm not going to bore you with it because it goes on for about another 10 minutes or so, but we're not going to play the whole thing. I just want to play just a little bit more of this. There was an accompanying video where Professor Amundi, I know I'm messing up his name. He's actually in Iran. And he then gives a breakdown of what will happen next, like based off of, this escalation ladder that they're on, what to expect next. And what he's saying is that he's like, at this point in time, where we are on this escalation ladder, he's like, I don't know how we avoid this whole region going down in smoke or going up in smokes, because he was just kind of mapping it out, kind of like when you play checkers and you see somebody with, or you're playing chess and you're like, okay, he's going to make that move. I'm going to make that move. I'm going to make that move. And then what he's saying is that when you look at the moves that's happening, it's like every single time that I try to play this out, we all end up in Armageddon. We all end up with all these nations being destroyed, and all these nations having to leave, and all these nations, something's going to happen. That's where he was at. And so I apologize. I didn't download that. I didn't download it because I really wanted this to be quick. But just to let you know that even the folks that aren't religious folks that aren't, don't believe in the Bible and stuff like that, they are arriving at the same realization that even though they know the end the end game, like the end result, it's like they don't see a way that anybody can avoid it. Because it's like, I mean, just like the scriptures, right? It says like the Most High is going to lead everybody to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? They're not going to have a choice. Like they know in their heart that at that battle, something bad is going to happen to them. But at this point, it's like they have no choice. They have to go. Trump has to go. Trump wants to get off. He wants to get off the escalation train. He wants to, he wants to stop everything, but he can't. He has to go. So in other words, anyway, family, let's just play a little bit more of this and I'll get you out of here on this. But again, this is another step up on the Iran side. What people are realizing is that Iran has some capabilities that they did not expect. That they're coming to realize that Iran could have knocked them out of the park from day one. If they fired those fighter twos at the very beginning, they could have taken out Netanyahu. They could have taken out all of the government. They could have taken out like all these high ranking people on the Israeli side, and they couldn't have done nothing about it. And all they would have had to do was fire one missile. Think about it, family. In their inventory, they had this missile that it didn't matter how many interceptors they had, the other team had, it was going to hit its target and knock them out. So this is what Iran is demonstrating. And this is why people are freaking out about this fighter two. I know when you go on the mainstream media that they'll just tell you about this fighter two, but no, it's more than that about this fighter two. And remember in the scriptures talk about the Persians and the Medes, that their weapon of choice is the arrow. It is the arrow, right? And of course, you kind of translate that arrow into modern day missiles, right? And they're in Iran and the Persians and the Medes today, they're not known for their ground forces. They're not known for their tanks, but they're known for their rockets / arrows. I'm telling you, this thing is lining up according to the scriptures. Hallelujah. All right, but let's just play, like I said, play a little bit more of this and I'll get you out of here on this, family.
Spits out the new coordinates, the Fata 2 is already miles away from where it was supposed to be. Furthermore, the Fata 2 uses its optical seeker to actively hunt the target, meaning its final descent is a dynamic, unpredictable attack. 10 interceptors were launched. 10 times the Israeli defense computers calculated exactly where the Fata 2 would be. 10 times the interceptors flew to those coordinates. And 10 times they hit empty air because the hypersonic missile had already changed course. The LeBron James analogy used by the Raphael executive is perfectly accurate. You know the player is driving to the basket. You send a defender to the exact spot to block him, but by the time your defender gets there, the player has spun around them, and your defender is grabbing at shadows. 10 interceptors grabbed at shadows today, while the Fatah 2 drove straight through the concrete roof of the command center. The loss of these 7 senior officers is a catastrophic blow to the Israeli military's ability to direct this ongoing war. Since the Second World War, military survivability has been based on one core concept: dispersing command authority into multiple, highly fortified nodes. If you lose one, the network routes around the damage. The facility that was struck today was a regional operational command center. These 7 officers were not paper pushers. They were the specific individuals actively managing operations on multiple fronts. They were coordinating specific strike packages against Iranian targets, managing logistics for the ground invasion in Lebanon, and communicating directly with American forces stationed in the Gulf. When you eliminate 7 senior commanders in a single blast, their responsibilities do not just magically transfer to someone else without massive friction. The chain of command has depth, but the officers stepping up to replace the dead are now inheriting highly complex operations they were not previously managing. The institutional knowledge, the personal relationships with American liaisons, the intimate...
All right. Well, he goes on for a while, and yes, he is AI. You can tell he's AI. Yeah, the AI is a given. You can tell people are AI if you look at their mouth and the voice. Like usually, like the lip sync is a little bit off. So yeah, I picked that up early. Anyway, but yeah, somebody said Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 11. Yep, that's it. Jeremiah 51 verse 11. Put this on the screen. Yep. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it. Hallelujah. It is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. Thank you for that, true seeker. That is right on point. So they are known for their arrows. They are known for their arrows. But that's it, family. Just wanted to throw that out to you. And also, like I said, just wanted to also test out this microphone. So hopefully this one's a little bit better than the other one, because the other one sounded a little bit garbled for me or to me. So we'll see how this one fares. But all right, family, enjoy the rest of your day. Definitely, if you're here in the South, it is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday, 80 degrees or so. So definitely get outside if you can. All right. Well, love you, Miss McCaw. Talk to you later. Peace and blessings and shalom.
Blessing, blessing. From the block to the store, we up. Yeah. Touchdown, sandals on a stone, I feel chosen. Sun high, smile wide-eyed, all the doors open. Cousins on the line like, bro, you glowing. Favor on my name, everybody know it. A boy dreaming on a one-way flight. Now I'm walking through the city with my heart real light. Every step say grace, I ain't moving in spite. Every breath, every check, man, I'm good on sight. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. My people sing that truth again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Good food, big laughs, auntie in the kitchen. Kids in the courtyard, whole fam chillin'. Stories from the elders, wisdom when they listen. Love in the language, joy in the rhythm. Pocket on humble, but my soul on rich. Favor in my walk, every step that I pitch. From the corner to the koto, same old script. Keep the word in my heart, that's the real dream. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. My people sing that truth again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hands up, let the blessings fall. Hands up. Front row, back row, answer when he call. From the block to the wall, we the same through it all. God grace, God peace, stand tall, stand tall. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. We dance, we clap, we move again. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. Hallelujah in Jerusalem. One more time, my people sing that truth again. Hallelujah.